Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Robert, product designer at Netflix. And today, let's discuss how to be a better designer. So being a product designer feels kind of like being a jack of all trades. You're always expected to do a variety of things, and sometimes it's even hard to jot down what skills you should be focusing on. If you're thinking about that, and if you're thinking about how can you improve yourself, you're already making some good progress. But no one is perfect. We should always strive to learn and improve our skills. One of the foundational things to be successful at your job as a designer is to actually find out what is expected of you in your role. So spend some time talking through that with your client, manager, stakeholders, and your teammates. It is very important to have a shared understanding of what you should do and what you should be involved in. Another part of that is what's the current state of business? Depending on that and UX maturity of your company, your expected focus could be very, very different. In some companies that are in the early stages, the most important part of your work could be introducing, let's say, voice of the customer and laying the foundations of the UX process. In growing companies, your effort would be more revolving around building a team of designers and nurturing effective collaboration. And whether you have a complete UX process in place or only some kind of foundation, it is very important to understand and analyze what do you have. What works well? What could be improved? You need to learn the current and desired states of these processes. Learn who you work with. What is the organizational structure? Who are your teammates and other important experts you may need to sync with? It is very important to dive into your company's business. So in product companies, you can always rely on your product partner's knowledge and judgment instead of building your own. However, designers need to learn business because we need to have a conversation on that level. This means learning what and how we do, what's important, and being able to connect different parts of the business, design, and engineering. Designers are very new to the discussion, and the truth is, engineers and product managers can build things without us. And we need to learn business to be able to articulate how design can make products and services better, to be able to show how we can provide value to those functions. A lot can be learned in basic unit economy courses or similar. You can also get a lot about startups and tech in general in different newsletters like the ones by Ben Thompson or Andrew Chen. And again, through many podcasts. But it is extremely important to dive deep and try to understand how different key figures in this space think about products and businesses. The more you would immerse yourself in that, the more inspired and motivated you will become. Another important point is learn to get and accept feedback. A lot of times when we think about great designers or great professionals in general, we tend to imagine perfect portfolios and the fantastic quality work that they deliver. This is true, but what is also important, skills like good communication, leadership, and discipline. They're called soft skills, and arguably, they're even more important than hands-on experience. One of these skills that is especially important for a designer is how you work with feedback. You should know what kind of feedback you're looking for and be able to nudge the interviewee if you feel like you're not making progress. Ask clarifying questions and do not interrupt, making enough space and time for people to thought through. Remember that feedback is a gift and takes time to create. Be thankful for someone who took time and effort to answer your questions. It is also helpful to keep in mind that a lot of people do not know how to provide useful feedback, and other people just need a reminder sometimes. Giving design feedback in a way that is constructive and supportive is no easy task, but it is critical for every designer to develop and master the skill and be empathetic. Another important skill to learn is asking the right questions. So the more context and details you know about the problem that you're solving, the more confident you would be in your work. It is impossible, though, to know everything, so there is certainly a sweet spot where you have just the right amount of information to work with, to get at critical information. you should ask tons and tons of questions to stakeholders, experts, or your clients. Right questions asked are also a positive sign to everyone that you get the gist, and it shows the way you think. The worst part of this, a lot of times people don't want to ask obvious or stupid questions, thinking that probably everyone except them knows the answer. But too many times, it's just not the case, and everyone in the room ends up with the same bunch of unanswered, dumb questions. Even if it's something everyone knows, it's still good to reiterate and make sure everyone has the same understanding. There are no dumb questions. Asking good questions is pretty hard, but it is something that you naturally get with practice and observing how more senior designers work. Learn how to present your solutions. As designers, we tend to forget that other people do not share the same domain knowledge as we do. And because they don't have the domain knowledge, some things require an explanation. For example, you should explain the problem you're solving and make it visible for everyone. That way you frame your design work around the problem and make it possible to see the design through this lens. Pretty often the people you present to haven't been involved in all the nuances of the project, so it's always a good idea to summarize the context, goals, and your findings in a structured way. Storytelling is an important factor in making your audience engaged. If you're presenting something that is really crucial for the project, you may want to spend more time beforehand. Interactive elements and well-thought storytelling will help you get your audience's full attention. Good presentation design is always rewarding. So another important point to think about is advocating for users. Oftentimes designers are closer to users than anybody else in the team. And surprisingly, when we think about user experience, we tend to forget the user part of the experience. We should always take time to look at the design work through their lens. What confusion might they have? Is there anything we can do better? As designers, we should always be in touch in users, getting more context and practicing empathy. But of course, every business should put its own survival first, and there is no contradiction in that. Every business would benefit from a user-centered approach, understanding its users' needs and making the product better for them. One of the examples of this kind of advocacy could be accessibility, something that many companies overlook in their development. Another important skill to learn is to trust your guts. This is a bit controversial and way harder to explain than other things, but I'll try. So following your tuition today with all the data that we now possess seems quite irresponsible, right? We can now have so much information about every aspect of the user, but I firmly believe that there is a place for intuition in our modern decision-making process, just as much as collecting data does. Basically, when we trust our guts, we trust all the life experiences and instincts that we have. It is a sound with, and I feel like this partner gets more and more trustworthy as we grow. It is very personal and often can include biases, but we learn and adjust it along the way. And last but not least, try to think big. Make time for innovation and exploration. As designers, we possess the great power to be able to visualize the future. It is more than just painting an idealistic picture of the future. It is a process of evaluating present conditions, identifying problem areas, and bringing about consensus on how we can overcome the existing problems and manage change. Design essentially is forward-looking and envisions possible and desirable futures and offer strategies for their implementation. When we do that exploratory vision kind of work, we begin with desired future state and then look back to the present. In a way, design is the process of envisioning and creating our own collective future.